So I looked through almost every piece of student work, of your individual work rather, to see how well you were able to show, to document your path through the investigating process. For some people, I was able to really see where you were. For other people, I saw a lot of shapes, but I couldn't figure out exactly what you were doing, and there was no from the order, I couldn't tell what your tinkering was. So I'm going to show you some examples again of work that that where how helpful observations can be along the way. I'm not going to show you one person's work from start to finish, but I'll just show you examples of what I thought was helpful. One of them is this. Oh, Omar, sorry, your name's on it. I didn't mean to. I noticed that if we, Omar, why don't you read it because it's yours.
I noticed that if we put the pin in the midpoint of the two congruent sticks and make them perpendicular, a square will be created, and if the angles are not right angles, a rectangle will be created.
So that was an observation that he made along the way. Here's another really nice one where there's a picture, and then I don't know whose this is, but let me see if I can read it. Diagonals have to be congruent, and even though the word isn't written out, I can tell what the person meant, and that's fine. You're making notes to yourself. It doesn't have to be perpendicular. In a rectangle, the diagonals are congruent. Excuse me. So the midpoints of the diagonals meet for a rectangle and have to be perpendicular, square, have to be 90 degrees, etc. So that kind of fiddling around with the conditions is a really important part of keeping track for your investigative process. Okay, here's another one. Isosceles trapezoid, one set of opposite sides parallel. This was interesting because the person actually defined what it meant to be this shape, because that's going to be an important part of your work today. Diagonals cross at the same spot or length, and this person has same hole besides the middle. And I wasn't quite sure what that meant. Oh, instead, I see. It means not the middle, I think. And then two diagonals have to cross at the same distance from the end point. So those kinds of things are things that, see, with an investigation, you often don't finish it right on the spot. You come back to it. And some of the stuff I did in college, I would have to work on it over a period of maybe a week or more. And I find myself thinking about it in the middle of the night sometimes, or sometimes when your brain works for you when you're not planning for it to. So that's why it's really important to keep track of where you are, because if you don't have this, it'll be harder for you to remember where you are. This person did a whole bunch just on one paper. There are some sketches. There are categories. LS means long stick, short stick. There was a whole lot there, like can't use 3 sticks. All the things that through the investigation were important to this person. All right, and then this group did something that I think is really, they did group observations. And they compiled all the things they'd noticed, important or not. When you're observing things, often you don't know what's going to be important and what isn't going to be important. So it's good to keep track of everything because you never know what's going to help you. So this is the kind of keeping track that I want us all to get better at. All right, excuse me. I'd like you to look through your own work right now. And on this card, underneath your question or on the back, I'd like you to assess how do you think you did in keeping track of documenting your process, and how could you have improved. So look through that. Let's take about 4 minutes for that. I don't think it needs to be a grade like A, B, C, D. What I'd like to see is here's what I did well. Here's what I could have done better. How about that? I'll put a prompt up for you. I'll put it on the board, though, because I need to get rid of the overhead. And look, I hear people talking to each other, which is great. So would you now share with each other how you think you could have done better?
We always showed our explaining and our thinking as we found something, and we showed what we saw, and then the only thing we could have done better, I think, is have a paper like they did, like that group, where we have a paper and a list of group observations.
And like write down everything we remember so we don't
Yeah,
forget
everything
anything.
you remember. And then this is just like, this is good too, but it's just like for us, we need to just do it together, that's it, I think.
What I did was like we drew a lot of the shapes, you know, and like how we got those shapes and how to arrange the sticks. Well, I thought that like I didn't make that many observations, and I felt that like more observations might help me realize that like we did something wrong or lead us to like the solution or something. So I'm gonna make more observations.
I think all we have to do now is just prove, right? Prove and then do a list of papers. Do a paper with a list of all the observations we made, and group proofs and stuff like that, and that's it. Right? Yeah.
I did well. I drawing myself, but I need more comments.
Yeah.
I think I need to make mine more organized because it was just like all over the place. It'd be easier to read if it was
I just gave all my thoughts out there and I didn't write them down. I didn't think I needed to.
I could have done more.
And then I also had you also had all the answers on your paper, so I thought I didn't have to write them.
I needed to prove on recording my first observations. Like, I had my conjectures and things, what my questions were, but I didn't record my observations about it that led to those.
I think we should have a paper with all the comments with the general observation for the squares, for the rectangles, and all the stuff. So it will be easier.